the heart of Yorkshire lies Ilkley, a town steeped in history, where cobbled streets and old stone cottages whisper stories of centuries gone by. Among them stands a legend in British dining, the Box Tree since the 1960s. This small cottage has welcomed royalties, celebrities, and some of the greatest chefs of our time. Its kitchens once shaped names like Marco Pierre White, and now a new chapter is being written from across the world, from Perth. A young chef has stepped into this historic kitchen. His name, Brayden Davies. Brayden's journey proves that success doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from showing up every day, every service giving nothing less than your all. Talent matters, but commitment matters more. And for Brayden, that commitment has turned opportunity into reality, leading one of the UK's most iconic restaurants into its next era. Ilkley to Perth, tradition to innovation. Hard work to achievement. This is what happens when you give it everything.
Box Tree was so magical, and even to this day, I've never sat in a restaurant with a more magical environment than Box Tree.
Hi guys, it's Brayden Davies from the Box Tree restaurant here. Today I'm going to talk you through our plating of a new meal foy dessert made from Tasmanian mount pepper and Garrigate strawberries. So my name's Brayden Davies. I work at the Box Tree restaurant in Ilkley, Yorkshire.
Yeah. So take us back to the beginning. What inspired you to pursue a career in the culinary arts?
Yeah, so I was quite lucky. So my parents were very kind of traditional. And when I turned 14, it was time to get a job. So mum sent me out with some CVs. I went down to Hillary's Boat Harbour, where I live in Hillary's in the west coast of Australia. So the Boat Harbour was kind of the main place where a lot of kind of hospitality kind of happens. And yeah, so the first place I walked into happened to be a restaurant or a cafe called the Beach Shack, and everyone hires dishwashers or kitchen porters, as we call them. So I got the job pretty much instantly. First resume handed out and first job. So I started there, and naturally, in the kitchen, being a dishwasher, everyone loves them. Everyone looks after them because you make the chef's life a lot easier. So I kind of looked up to these kind of, in my eyes, these really cool guys that were, tattoos and stuff like that. And I guess, yeah, took me under their wing, and I started washing dishes, and I started making juices. I started doing salads, doing basic mise en place, and using a knife, which was a bit different. I was already doing cooking at school, and yeah, my family are very big kind of British heritage. Very much the grandma taught my mum how to cook, and mum's always been a very good cook, and my nana is an excellent cook. So there was already a bit of food there, but it kind of showed me that there is a career in food. And I think, yeah, it was just a nice way to get into that, was to really feel a part of it. I guess maybe I fell in love with the camaraderie before I fell in love with the cooking aspect of it, which is a bit different to some people.
Yeah. That's funny, yeah. My story is very similar to yours.
Yeah, like people you look up to and you're like,
yeah, this lifestyle works.
Looking back now, I probably shouldn't look up to them, because they're probably really probably giving me cigarettes and stuff like that. But okay. At the time, they were like my heroes, yeah. And yeah, I enjoyed that part of it. It's always a thing when like you're a young man and like a bunch of older guys like respect you. Yeah. It's quite big. Yeah. Big thing, I guess.
All right. How did your training at TAFE help your career?
Yeah, so I think Joondalup campus, or North Metropolitan TAFE as it's called now, it helped shape me kind of by showing me the disciplines of chefing, to keep your station tidy, showing me the basics of cooking. I think that's a massive thing now for me, was learning the base sauces, how to make a chicken stock, the basics of pastry as well. It helped set me up to go into restaurants like Clark's and North Beach, and every day in the other restaurants I've worked at as well. You kind of always refer back to certain things that you might not do again, but when they come up, like a cartouche or something like that, it comes up frequently. It just takes you back straight there. And I think that discipline and how to keep your chef lights nice and clean, and the correct ways to clean down, wash your hands when you get to a kitchen. You don't necessarily, as someone that employs people, you can always look at someone that's been to culinary school or college or TAFE, and you can see straight away that they have those basic kind of knowledge, as opposed to someone that's kind of gone straight into the commie chef and not had that formal training. So I think as an employer, it's great to see people come from that background, and I like to think that helps me get to where I am by knowing those certain things.
Yeah, big time. Were there any specific lecturers or moments of TAFE that left a lasting impact on you? Any moments?
Yeah, so I think Martin Carlin was a massive one as well. Martin was always a stern but fair man, and I think maybe sometimes I thought he was being unfair on me. Back then, you look into my career now and go, he set me up on how some kitchens can be, like, not, quite to the point. People aren't there to, hurt your feelings, but when you make a mistake, you're going to be told that you made a mistake. So yeah, probably multiple times where I stuffed something up in TAFE, and I think we don't, no one likes to be told off, but I think we need that as a chef to learn from our mistakes. Hans Blazer, I have a lot of love for him. He was a great guy that really saw something in me and kind of talked to me after TAFE. And there was times where maybe I was quite young when I was in TAFE. I was quite young. I was like 16. So yeah, generally not letting me beat myself up when I got something wrong, because it doesn't always go right, especially in TAFE. You might burn something. Well, 100% you will. That's the point. That's the point of TAFE as well. You're going to make those mistakes and learn from them. But yeah, it is shit when you burn something. And yeah, so those two, particularly Claire as well. She almost like gives you like an emotional cuddle of support without actually giving you a cuddle, if that makes sense. She's a really, really great woman, and I think the industry needs more people like her. There wasn't particularly moments that I can remember as of such.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, I feel like my head's like a memory bank now. Delete some things, but no, I've got a lot of love from my time here. There was definitely very good times more than bad times. Yeah, and hence why I'm here today as well. We're just speaking about how many good memories we have from being here.
Yeah. What have been your proudest moments since becoming a head chef?
Yeah, so pride's a weird one. I'm not old enough that I look back on things, and people will say I should be more proud of things, but it's one of them where, yeah, I struggle to feel proud yet because I've not accomplished the things I want to accomplish. I think when I was back home in Australia in January when the restaurant was shut, we got in the top 100 UK restaurants. We placed 89th, I believe. So that was something I was proud of here. When I sat back home in Perth, it really helps process that, and I remember feeling that proudness of that because I wasn't when I'm back in the UK, it's just go, it's work, and you don't really have time to feel like reflect. It kind of, these things happen, you get mentioned or you get an award or something, and you're at work and it's like, yeah, we clap and we're happy about it, but we have a service to look forward to, so there's no time to reflect. But yeah, in that January when I spent a month back in Hillary's in Perth, it definitely was a time that I felt joyous of being mentioned, which is weird because I was half the world away, which kind of helped weirdly. But yeah.
Had there been any setbacks or tough lessons that you've learned along the way as a chef?
Yeah, I mean, things don't always go to plan. I definitely have had a few humbling experiences. I think probably like when I moved over from Australia to UK Northcote, I thought I was pretty good. Leaving Clark's, which was like one of the best restaurants, if not one of the best restaurant in Perth in its time. So yeah, after 3 years there, I thought I was pretty shit hot. Yeah. And I learned pretty quickly that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And there was also that we came from a team at Clark's of 5 chefs, going into a brigade of 26 chefs, being from the other side of the world where there was no Australians ever in that kitchen, learning the lingo and stuff. There was definitely times of homesickness, and times 6 months in, I was going to throw the towel in and come back and I'm very glad I didn't. But yeah, I'd say that was a massive setback. In the recent years, I've been very fortunate that things have always kind of gone to plan. I think becoming a father, definitely, I wouldn't say it wasn't a setback by any stretch, but definitely the tiredness and the fatigue and trying to weigh up the two is challenging at the best of times. Now he's kind of 1.5. It's a lot easier, and I'm back into the swing of things. But yeah, I'm quite fortunate that there've been no big setbacks, really. So I'm very lucky in that regard.
It's awesome. I don't know how you do it.
I don't. The thing is, I don't. It's just not to think about it. Like it's just a process. Like, yeah, even coming back, like flying into Perth yesterday, you think about things and you think it's going to be like an emotional moment. So don't get me wrong, there's been emotional moments, but I just live always in the moment. People always say like, "I watch a 5-year plan," and I'm like, I think like 2 weeks in advance max. Yeah, that's kind
That's a good way to think.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's a choice, if that's just my life's just too busy. Where, yeah, it's like I agree to cooking demonstrations, and then I'm like, oh, that's a week away now. But it's great because it's just like, yeah, it's. I am an organised person to an extent.
But yeah, it's good to be present.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of your time and how you see things,
Yeah.
how would you describe your food philosophy and how it's changed over the years?
Yeah, so I was fortunate, as you know, working at Clark's. We had a lot of creative freedom on amuse-bouches and stuff like that. So I've always had that kind of hunger to create. So I've always had my own food type or style. It's just kind of developed over the years. I like to get an ingredient and times it by 10 is kind of, in the best words I can describe it. If I'm going to put pepper on the menu, or a Miro pepper or something like that, I want the guests to be able to taste it in abundance. I don't just want to list things. I don't really use many micro herbs unless they have a benefit to the dish. Obviously respecting the animal and doing, a guinea fowl, I'll use the breast, the leg, make a stock from the bones. Yeah, it's a lot easier to show you my food style than talk about it, but it's good to kind of show you my basis of my philosophy behind it and try to waste as little as possible. Obviously a massive Australian influence. People get confused and think it's Australasian, but it's not really much Asian influence in there. It's more classical French or modern British, as they now call it, with nods to Australia, using things like finger lime, which I think are a great product. I use a bit of Tasmanian mountain pepper. So using tiny amounts of Australian ingredients that mean something to me, and really blending them into something that's quite traditional in French cooking as well. I think it's quite kind of to describe my cooking, I guess.
Yeah. And obviously you mentioned about everything being electric. It's all pretty sustainable and everything over there.
Yeah, I love electric. Sustainability is a massive part of it. The consumer wants to see more of it. So yeah, it's massive. Electric as well for me is more precision. It's no, gas burners that burn things, and you make a cauliflower soup or a beurre blanc or something, and you got little speckles in there, and yeah, I find electric helps with that. It's more, control.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I said, it's all the kitchens I've worked, all the Michelin star kitchens I've worked in over there are that. So when I designed my kitchen at the Box Tree, it was a no-brainer to stick to that. We have a Conro Japanese barbecue for the kind of more smoky fire, which I think a lot of kitchens have now. So yeah, we kind of use that a lot as well to kind of make up for the higher kind of heats. But yeah, it's all about sustainability now and trying to minimise our footprint. Although flying ingredients into Australia is probably not the best thing, carbon neutral, but oh well. if the Wagyu is not coming from Japan, it's coming from Australia. So.
Yeah, that's it. And you use the whole animal.
Yeah,
so you mentioned the guinea fowl. You use the bones. You use it all.
I think Europe as well. It's a lot different to Australia. Europe imports, or UK, imports a lot from Europe. Europe's on your doorstep, so you can bring a lot of ingredients in. Whereas Australia is an island nation, we don't really bring in a whole lot, especially fruit and veg. We kind of seem to do it a lot ourselves here. So I think it's a lot easier to be sustainable within Australia, because you can get West Australian restaurants that only use West Australian produce, which is great. I mean, if I did that in Yorkshire, I don't think it's possible. I don't think you'd be able to physically only get produce from Yorkshire.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we could, but yeah, it's a much more bigger task there, I think.
So when you're creating a dish, what do you start with? I mean, you mentioned about starting with the ingredient, but what do you?
Yeah, so we start with always the kind of protein and the sauce for a kind of main course, I guess. What works? I think the thing with us is the protein. How do we cook it in the way that we think is an exceptional product? And we'll nail that first. Then, what does the sauce go with? Is it a beurre blanc? Is it a beurre noisette? Is it a jus gras? Is it all these beautiful sauces? And then we develop the garnish around that. What it goes with as such. That's for a main course. Some things are like recreates. Like we might have, I did a damper bread course, and I think about back to like being at school where we made damper bread in like our camping class and stuff like that, and trying to get those memories and kind of influence that with Vegemite butter and whipped Great Stone feta, which feta is massive, not necessarily Australian, but feta over here is massive, whereas in the UK it wasn't really a product. So sometimes it's a concept, sometimes it's an idea of how to make it into an exceptional product for our guests. Because obviously price is a massive thing. We charge £115 per person now at dinner, so it has to be exceptional. Good isn't good enough, really, when people pay that amount of money. So it's always trying. That's like $230, I think, Australian. So yeah, it's trying to captivate that memory. That like I'm doing a paddle pop at the minute, so yeah, it's trying to elevate. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you can't elevate things. We do a beautiful.
What's the paddle pop?
Paddle pop.
Yeah, what is it?
So like the ice, so it's like obviously like a banana ice cream we get over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done the roasted banana ice cream, dipped it in a caramel chocolate, put a little bit of granola on the back for the chocolate sets, and yeah, we have a beautiful. I've got a pot stick that's made from jarrah, which is like obviously a native Western Australian wood, so it means something to me. And we kind of stick it up on a thing so the ice cream stands up on this beautiful sycamore wood with this hole in. Yeah, a lot of architecture goes, no, I don't do that. I pay someone to do all the drilling and all the timber work, thankfully, because we'd be in a bit of trouble if I did the woodwork. But yeah, it's kind of going back to that and making a product. And I think I'm lucky that in the restaurant I'm in, it's about the box tree, of course. The box tree has its history, a very rich history, but it's about Brayden Davies as well, going hand in hand, making sure the guests taste the food that I've created and that they can't go to another restaurant and taste the same. It's about the identity as a chef, which I'm very fortunate to be able to show.
How do you manage to inspire your team in a high pressure kitchen? You mentioned about getting angry but not being personal, but how do you inspire them?
Yeah, it's inspiring them is the tricky thing. I find, especially in a kitchen like mine, where you kind of have the favourite dishes, and I think that's something that I've learned in other restaurants I've worked in. I worked at a 2 Michelin star restaurant for 2 years, where the dishes didn't really change. They kind of just there. So I like to change things, but not to the point where we just change the whole menu for the sake of it. It's trying to make sure the chefs are learning. It's trying to move their sections around, so their progression. I think progression and information and learning is what inspires people. The more they're learning, the more inspired they get. It's giving them, sometimes, it's giving them an ingredient and going, oh, what do you think we should do with this? Giving them a little bit of a choice in it. Ultimately, it's my hind on the line kind of thing. So there's always decisions that I'm going to have to make, but it's kind of, cooking competition sometimes as well. Like, right, guys, we have a quiet day today. Cook this, cook that. Teaching people someone. I think knowledge is inspiration. The more you can empower people with knowledge, the more they're going to give you as an employer. And I think it works in everything, like even TAFE or cooking school. The more you teach people, they're going to keep coming back for more. It's like an addiction. You never really stop learning. Even me now, I go through cookbooks and I keep reading and I keep reading. And I'm not someone that naturally reads either. I'm not like a bookworm or anything like that. So yeah, I think forever learning and giving them that information is then, as soon as you stop teaching someone, they're going to look for another job where they can learn more. So it's always kind of it keeps you on, as an employer, it keeps you on your toes to keep teaching people stuff. I think as well, inspiring them as being a good person. It costs nothing to be nice. And I think that's a big thing in the industry now. It's giving people time. If I've got a quiet night in the restaurant, I'm not going to keep all my chefs for the sake of it. I'm going to, if I can, I'll say, right, mate, you have the night off tonight. And always leading from the front is a big thing as well. I'll always give them a night off before I give myself a night off. I've worked in some kitchens where the chef just, quiet night, right, I'm off tonight, see you later, boys. And, respect is not demanded. And I think that's how you kind of get that out of people and inspire them to be better. And hopefully one day when they're a head chef, they instill the things that I believe I do hopefully they pass that down. And then I think the industry benefits from people like that.
That's great. So what do you look for in young chefs entering a kitchen today?
Yeah, I think for me, can start with what I don't look for. I think a lot of young chefs now kind of look at the Gordon Ramsays, the kind of rock star lifestyle, and expect to kind of walk in and do that straight away. I've had a lot of chefs reach out to me and I inspire them, which it's a bit of an imposter syndrome. So I'm like, oh, really, me? Like, I inspire you? But it's great. It's a great thing to do. I never really look at it like that because I'm still young. I'm still pretty young. I'm 27. So it feels weird when people say I inspire them, but I appreciate it a lot. But I just tell them to do the hard yards first, learn the basics. I think a lot of chefs are going to skip that hard work part and kind of get the Instagram followers and wear the nice chef jackets and wear the nice aprons and wear Nike Air Maxes in the kitchen. I think you've really got to learn the basics first. These things don't happen overnight. None of these chefs that are looking up to, like myself, none of these chefs I look up to, has it just happened. It's a lot of hard work and it's a long road. And I think if it wasn't, there'd be a lot more of us with Michelin stars and great restaurants and living this rock star lifestyle. I think we'd all have on if it was easy. So yeah, I think that's kind of when I look for young people, I look for that right attitude. I look for them being a nice person, a genuine person. Punctuality is a key. I can teach you how to cook, but I can't teach you those things. You've got to teach yourself how to be a nice person, how to be punctual. If you're not those first three things, then I'm not going to teach you how to cook or better your cooking because you don't have that potential in my eyes.
What advice would you give TAFE students today who dream of working in a Michelin level kitchen?
Yeah, I think the advice I'd give is a tricky one because no one's journey is simple, and my journey has not. It's been tough. So part of me doesn't want to wish that on anyone. But if you were to go down that road, I think it would just be stick it out. Think of what you're doing it for. Make a plan. Make a 2-year plan. Always set your goals. Don't set. It's all good to have a massive goal at the end of it. And like mine, I was like, I want to get a Michelin star, but set halfway points to what you want to achieve. Set realistic time frames that you want to achieve those things. And there's no such thing as failure in this industry. You can always, the goal can always change. You can always regrow. We spoke earlier about not everyone has to work in a Michelin star restaurant. You can be happy. Find your happiness, whether that is cooking on a farm with beautiful products, whether that's teaching cooking at a cook school, whether that's in a cafe, doing the best smashed avocado on toast that you possibly can. I think, yeah, there's lessons to be learned from there. But with Michelin cooking, it's learning that discipline, learning to refine yourself and learning every section. That's the big thing. Everyone wants to learn how to cook meat and fish, how to make sauces, but learn cold larder, learn the organization of how to do your mise en place list, we work in a particular way, putting J-cloths on trays, bringing it onto the pass, how to use your tweezers, how to pick herbs correctly. Talking about it sounds really petty, but these things are like what helps to achieve. Learning how to cling film something properly, so it's like a drum lid, you can see through it, none of this kind of tear stuff. It really helps, if your mise en place is perfect, the food you do is going to be even better. So that's kind of the advice I'd give people. And yeah, learn the cop it on the chin, because something I struggled to learn as well. I thought, like as you spoke earlier, I thought I was really good, and getting told off all of a sudden and feeling like I'm not that good of a chef is something that I have to learn how to adapt.
Yeah.
Even now at the level I'm at, it happens where someone doesn't like your food, and you either take it or you leave it, or if someone sends something back, you put it right. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, usually you try to put it right and get the customer on your side.
That's great. I like how you talked about everything matters, every step. I think young chefs, they come in, they only think about that end plate and how they can make it look pretty.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about protein, as you mentioned. They're thinking about how it's going to look.
Yeah, 100%. It's even like the simple things like brining a bit of chicken. Why are you doing that? Thinking about the process of it. You're getting flavour, you're getting, in your brine, put garlic, thyme, peppercorns. When you heat it up, it enhances the flavour of that. When you're basting a chicken breast, for example, skin side down, you're getting that contact with the pan. The burn noisette is adding kind of like, nutty notes to it. Add your garlic in when it's burn noisette. Put the thyme in as well. Start basting, so you're getting all that flavour. That's cooking for me. We can all make a great puree and make a plate look pretty. It's how it tastes with your purees as well. Don't just oil, cream, and I don't know, celeriac together. Sweat it off first, sweating off, cling from your pan so it traps in that flavor. Butter as well. We use a lot of butter, as we call it, in puree. It's like an obscene amount, you know. We use a lot. Sometimes cooking at this level is not exactly the healthiest either, and a lot of double cream as well. But all these things enhance the end product, and that's what gets you the accolades. People don't get accolades on how pretty food looks. Yes, people do eat with their eyes first. And don't get me wrong, some of my plating techniques and stuff, you look at my plates on Instagram, these things cost a lot of money, these plates. And these beautiful plates, they help the dish. Sometimes people look at my dishes and go, wow, that's like art on the plate. But really, it's a protein, it's a beautiful bit of garnish with some, herb oil and stuff like that. The plate itself brings it together, as opposed to me doing lots of puree lines and rochers of purees and splatters and plates. Don't get me wrong, those things are very cool, and I love that. But some of these crockery can really enhance the thing as well. And I think, in my opinion, Australia doesn't have enough crockery accessible, and that would be down to the fact that a lot of the crockery comes from Norway and Sweden. A lot of artisan makers. I think in Australia we lack that a little bit. And really good, the really good crockery places, they seem to get kind of helped by the really good restaurants in the eastern states and stuff like that.
So who inspires you now, both in and out of the kitchen?
Yeah, so I think not recently, I've always had a lot of respect for Curtis Stone, but I think what she can come back to Australia and do these like paddock to plate kind of things has really made me appreciate here. Being in Sydney last week especially made me really appreciate the ethos we have in Australia, the land that we have in Australia. Brett Graham was a massive inspiration for me to go over to the UK. So he's just won 3 Michelin stars. Back when I moved to the UK, he had 2. So it showed me that an Australian can move overseas and do, especially in London, a big city, do well for himself as well. I think as Aussies, we don't, we're known as kind of that Crocodile Dundee image, maybe a little bit dumb when we speak, like "G'day, mate," like the kind of that. And I think to oppose that, especially going to the Queen, the Queen's tongue of the UK, where we came from, is inspiring for Australians to do well there. There's few and far between Aussies that have done well there. Big Ange at Tottenham Hotspurs just won a trophy as well. So you look at, I know it's a sport, but you look at how much crap he got in the media for being Australian. They didn't respect him in his sport. He just won a trophy. I think sometimes you feel that as well as an Australian over there, that we're just those laid back Aussies that like drinking beer and like fishing and like camping. Yeah. So it's cool to do that in whatever goal that is, whether that's sport, whether that's cooking, whether that's hairdressing. It's great to see Aussies doing well outside of our own country, because you don't see a lot of it, if that makes sense. There's few and far between Australians with businesses outside of Australia, because we have such a beautiful country and not a lot of us leave. The moral of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ones that do, there's always that aspect in trying to showcase what we do here. And I think that's quite a new thing, actually. Us having like our own identity, I think, is probably something that's probably excelled in the last 10 years. Shoeies and all those kind of things. But yeah, Danny Ricciardo.
Starting to get a bit more of a culture.
Yeah, but I can buy Australian beer now in the UK. Now that was quite unknown a few years ago. We're seeing a lot more of Australian beef. We're seeing some Australia. I can get South Australian kingfish in the UK now as well, which is great. You got Matt Abbey at Gordon Ramsay using South Australian kingfish, which is incredible. Finger lime. I buy Australian finger limes in the UK, which also is incredible. Whereas a few years ago, that was kind of unknown.
All right. If you could speak to your younger self with TAFE, what would you say?
Yeah, appreciate the small things, I'd say. It's a tricky one. I'd say be brave, because there's a lot of hard times. You're gonna be surprised when you can become a father. You're not gonna know the love that you felt for your child that you do now, which is an amazing thing that I've never thought. Even a year, 2 years ago, you would have caught me off guard with fatherhood. You become a better person from fatherhood. But I'll keep it to more on the cooking side of things. But yeah, it's yeah, there's going to be some times in kitchens where you question yourself if you can do it, and I think it's that self-belief, and I think that self-belief is what helps me. People like Patrick O'Brien instilled self-belief. He believed in me, so it's infectious. You start to believe in yourself even when you don't, because other people do. You do it for other people, and then even as an adult now, you know, Patrick taught me something. He used to say to me, if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your family. And as someone that now has a family, I instill that into my everyday life, especially with my son, about doing things to give him a good life, as well as myself. My career, I'm not just doing it for me now, I'm doing it for him. I'm doing it for my family back home. I'm doing it for the lecturers at TAFE. I'm doing it for everyone because I want to make that they believed in me. So everything I achieve is part of what they've instilled into me, which is a big thing. I've not just sat here and done it all myself. Of course, a lot of it has been from my hard work, but I wouldn't have been here where I am today without other people's influences.
Cool. I know we've talked about it a fair bit, but what's next for you professionally? Like, what are your goals and projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, so next for me, hopefully the Michelin star comes sooner rather than later. And it kind of takes off after that, really. The world's my oyster after that. I'll never say never about moving back to Australia. I'd never say never, but it's definitely not happening in the next 5 years. Who knows what after that holds? I never really think much ahead, but yeah, hopefully lots of great things. Yeah, nothing I can pinpoint directly.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Week to week, as you
yeah,
said.
I wish I could. I wish I could pinpoint it and tell you. But yeah, I'm a weird one now, because if you asked me this 3 years ago, I could tell you, like, I want to be a head chef, I want to be this. So I guess kind of my plan is playing out as it is at the minute. So the only next part of my plan is kind of next year. I don't really have it all. Depends on that. And then if you ask me next year and I've not got what I wanted to achieve, that will be that again. So fingers crossed I'm not in this time loop, and I get what I want and I can plan after that, if that makes sense.
I'll mention about your beef thing you just went to. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate to be an Australian beef ambassador. So that came about me using a lot of Australian Wagyu at the box tree. Again, a great product in the UK, available in the UK now I use West Home Wagyu, which is actually Queensland, so from where you're from. Great product, very well renowned now, and it's different to A5 Japanese Wagyu. I can get A5 Wagyu, but it's more of a steak still. You know, you don't have this high marbling, but I think it leans towards we as Australians cook, as in on the barbecue. You try to cook A5 on a barbecue, it's a very quick cook because of the amount of fat content. So yeah, I was very fortunate to be to Sydney this last week, and the country in central New South Wales, seeing where all this beef comes from as well, learning about it, and I'm very fortunate that the New South Wales government gave me the opportunity to do that, and be here as well, fly back to Perth for a couple of days and see the family and do this interview, of course, which I'm very, very happy about, because 3 weeks ago I wouldn't have thought I'd be sat here now. So yeah, that's life for you though. Kind of things pop up, and sometimes you've got to take opportunities.
Yeah, that's great.